The red dust of Mars swirled as the mining drone scanned deeper beneath the surface. For months, the human research team stationed in the Valles Marineris Canyon had been investigating unusual magnetic readings. The instruments indicated something metallic buried far below the rocky soil, something ancient and hidden from sight. Dr. Lena Perez wiped sweat from her brow inside the cramped Mars Research outpost. The artificial gravity made the air feel thin, but bearable. Her eyes flicked toward the screen as the drone scans deepened. "This is it," she whispered. "Whatever it is, it's huge." The ship's lead scientist, Dr. Samir Patel, adjusted his glasses, eyes locked on the data. "We've been searching for relics of the old Earth fleet for years. Most thought all the ships were lost during the Great Collapse. If this is real, it could change everything." Outside, the barren Martian plain stretched endlessly, silent except for the hum of machinery and the occasional gust of dust. The colony had barely recovered from decades of war and near extinction. Humanity was scattered, reduced to a few colonies on Earth's moons and distant planets. Mars was their hope, a new frontier. The rover's excavators finally broke through the soil. A metallic shape shimmered beneath the dust. A large, angular structure unlike any natural formation. The crew gathered in the control room, their faces illuminated by the glowing screen. Lena's voice trembled. "It's a ship, an old human ship." Samir nodded slowly, heart pounding. This could be one of the last vessels built before the collapse. The legend spoke a mission to the outer stars, lost to time. The excavation began carefully, each scoop revealing the hull's contours. The metal was weathered but intact, bearing faded insignias of the United Earth Alliance. Inside the ship, hidden beneath layers of dust and ice, the team hoped to find logs, technology, maybe even survivors. Deep in orbit, alien factions monitored Mars from their ships cloaked in shadow. The XY Wrath, a warlike species with glowing blue skin, observed the human outpost with interest. Their leader, General Vrex, frowned at the screens. "They found the buried ship," Vrex hissed, fingers tapping the console. "The humans are not extinct, as we believed." His advisor, the tall and slender Ralnock, nodded. "This changes our plans. If humans awaken, they could disrupt the balance. We must prepare." Far below, in the Mars soil, the human team's drills opened a hatch. It creaked and groaned, then slid open to reveal a dimly lit corridor. The airlock was sealed tight, but sensors detected faint life signs, or at least something artificial. Lena's heart raced as the team entered the ship. The interior was dark, the walls scarred but still functional. Strange symbols glowed faintly on consoles long dormant. Samir scanned the room with a handheld device. "This technology, it's older than anything we've seen," he murmured. "But it's still active." Suddenly, the ship shuddered. Lights flickered on, casting eerie shadows. The hum of engines stirred after centuries of silence. Panic and awe swept through the team. "What's happening?" Lena whispered. Samir's face turned pale. "The ship is waking up." In orbit, General Vrex clenched his fists. "They have activated something. We must move swiftly before this threat grows." Back inside the ship, hidden systems powered on one by one. The central console flashed red. A distress signal began to broadcast, a beacon of ancient warning. Lena watched the screen. "It's sending a message into deep space." Samir frowned, voice low and serious. "This signal, it could alert others. Whatever's out there will come." Outside the research station, the Martian winds howled. Unknown eyes in the darkness watched the planet's surface, waiting for what would come next. The ancient ship, lost for centuries, had awoken. The story of humanity's near extinction was about to be rewritten. The cold silence inside the ship was broken by a soft hiss. A panel in the stasis chamber slid open slowly, releasing a gentle stream of oxygen into the dim compartment. The figure inside stirred. For centuries, they had been trapped in frozen sleep, held captive by time itself. Now, their eyes fluttered open, struggling to adjust to the faint light around them. The survivor blinked, their mind heavy with confusion. The air was stale but breathable, a faint hum from distant systems barely audible. They tried to move but felt weak, their bodies stiff from long inactivity. Memories came slowly, fragments of a world long gone. The images of burning cities, the roar of alien ships in the sky, the desperate cries of dying humanity. Panic rose as the survivor pushed against the cold walls of the chamber. They were alone, trapped in a place that felt like a tomb. The last thing they remembered was the invasion, aliens descending on Earth, tearing through cities, destroying all life. Humanity's great fleets had been crushed. They were the last hope, frozen to live through the dark ages, waiting for a future they never thought would come. Outside, the red dust shifted as multiple alien fleets closed in on Mars. The news of the ancient ship's activation had spread quickly. The Exwarath, the ruthless warriors who had once crushed humanity's rebellion, were first to arrive. Alongside them were spies from rival alien clans, each eager to claim the relic for their own power. Inside the control room of the ship, systems came to life, glowing softly as diagnostics ran. The survivors struggled to stand, their legs weak but steadying. The walls flickered with images, old star maps, battle logs, warnings of invasion. It was a history etched into the ship's memory, a testament to humanity's fall and potential rise. The survivor's name was Elias, a soldier once, trained for the defense of Earth. Now, a relic himself, awakened into a galaxy that had moved on without him. He touched the console, his fingers brushing against worn symbols that glowed faintly under his touch. "Where am I?" he whispered, voice rough from disuse. A sudden sound echoed from outside, the rumble of approaching warships. Through the ship's reinforced windows, Elias saw the alien fleets descending on Mars, vast and ominous. His heart quickened. The ship's AI, a soft voice in the background, spoke. "Warning. Unauthorized forces approaching. Recommend defensive measures." Elias moved quickly now, instincts returning. He searched for weapons, tools, anything that could aid him. His hand found a strange device, an alien technology grafted onto the ship. As he held it, a strange warmth spread through his body. The approaching alien forces landed on the surface, their troops descending in armored suits, weapons drawn. They advanced toward the ancient ship with cold precision, determined to seize its secrets. Inside, Elias felt a surge within him, something awakened beyond physical strength. A strange energy pulsed through his veins. His vision sharpened, senses heightened. Confusion mixed with power as his body reacted to threat. The first wave of alien soldiers breached the airlock. They moved with practiced efficiency, unaware of the danger that waited. Elias stepped forward, the alien device glowing in his hand. Suddenly, his body exploded with energy. Light radiated from his hands, crackling like lightning. The soldiers stopped, stunned, as bolts of power struck the ground before them, sending dust and debris flying. Their weapons malfunctioned under the strange force. Some screamed in shock and fear. The leader barked orders, but the soldiers hesitated, unsure how to fight a human who wielded power beyond their technology. Elias's eyes glowed with an otherworldly light. He took a deep breath, remembering his mission, the survival of humanity, the reclaiming of their lost place in the stars. He raised his hands again, sending waves of energy crashing into the invaders. The battlefield lit up with flashes of power, echoing through the Martian canyons. From orbit, the alien commanders watched in disbelief. "Impossible," one hissed. "The humans, they possess powers we never imagined." Elias stood alone amid the chaos, the last human awakened from a forgotten war. His presence was a spark of hope and fear, an ancient force returning to claim its destiny. As the alien forces regrouped, Elias prepared for the fight ahead. The awakening was just the beginning. The war for humanity's future had reignited on the Red Planet, and Elias was its unexpected warrior. The red dust of Mars swirled outside the battered windows as Elias paced through the dim corridors of the ancient ship. Every step echoed with a weight he had not felt in centuries, the burden of a forgotten past, a future waiting to be claimed. The air inside the vessel hummed with a strange energy, old systems flickering to life, memories awakening along with him. In the heart of the ship, Elias reached the data core, a vast chamber filled with glowing consoles and endless streams of information. His fingers trembled as he activated the main terminal. The screen lit up, revealing logs, maps, and records buried deep beneath layers of encryption. He was not just a survivor of a lost war. He was the keeper of a secret far greater than he had imagined. The logs told a story of humanity's true past, one erased from common history by the invading aliens. Earth had not been defenseless. Long before the invasion, humans had unlocked an ancient technology, a weapon powerful enough to change the fate of worlds. It was a force that could reshape reality, a creation of human ingenuity and cosmic energy combined. But fear and greed had torn humanity apart. Rival factions had fought over the weapon, and in their chaos, the aliens struck, crushing the divided human race. The weapon was hidden away, sealed inside the ship, waiting for the right moment and the right person to wield it. Elias's heart pounded as he realized the weight of what lay before him. This was not just survival. It was a chance to reclaim everything lost, to rise from the ashes and fight back against the alien oppressors who thought humanity was finished. Far above on Mars's orbit, dark shadows moved to the blackness of space. The alien empire had sent their deadliest mercenaries, ruthless warriors known only as the Crimson Vultures. Their mission was clear: capture the ship, destroy its secrets, and eliminate any who dared to remember. The mercenaries were ghosts, slipping past patrols and sensors with deadly precision. Their ships descended silently, landing miles from the ancient vessel. Clad in sleek armor and armed with weapons forged from the darkest corners of the galaxy, they prepared to strike. Inside the ship, Elias worked feverishly, unlocking codes and deciphering maps. The power to save humanity, or doom it, rested in his hands. But the sudden alarm shattered the silence. Warning: unauthorized intrusion detected. The ship's AI announced in a cold, mechanical voice. Elias's eyes snapped to the sensors. Red dots flickered on the screen, moving fast through the Martian surface toward the ship's location. The Crimson Vultures had found them. He moved swiftly, sealing bulkheads and activating defensive protocols. But the mercenaries were not just soldiers. They were experts in infiltration and destruction. The ship's external defenses blazed alive as plasma turrets fired into red dust, cutting down the first wave of attackers. But the mercenaries had already breached the outer walls, using advanced tech to bypass security systems. Within the ship's narrow corridors, a deadly cat-and-mouse game began. Elias used his powers, the strange energy pulsing through him, to block attacks and disable enemies. His body moved with speed and strength that seemed almost impossible, but the mercenaries were relentless. One group split off, heading directly to the data core where the logs and the weapons secrets were stored. Elias knew he had to protect that chamber at all costs. The ship shook as explosions rocked the hull. Smoke filled the air, alarms screamed, and somewhere deep within, ancient machines began to stir, reacting to the threat. Elias stood his ground, facing down the mercenaries in a narrow hallway. Energy crackled from his hands, illuminating the dark space. The mercenaries fired, their weapons sending bolts of destructive force. But Elias dodged and countered with blasts of pure energy. The fight was brutal and close. Each side tested the other's limits, neither willing to retreat. Blood and sparks mixed in confined space, the clash echoing like thunder. Suddenly, one mercenary broke through Elias's defenses, lunging with a deadly blade. Elias barely blocked the strike, the force of the blow sending a shock through his arm. Pain flared, but he refused to fall. Behind him, the data core's central console flickered violently. The secrets of humanity's past were at risk of being lost forever. Elias's breath came hard. The mercenaries were not just here for the ship. They wanted to silence the human survivor, to wipe out the last hope of rebellion. As more mercenaries flooded the corridors, Elias prepared for a final stand. The fate of a forgotten race, an entire galaxy, hung on the edge of a blade. Outside, the Martian sky burned red with the glow of war. Inside, the ancient ship trembled under the assault, its secrets poised to either save or destroy everything. The cold wind swept across the barren plains of a distant moon, its thin atmosphere carrying whispers of a forgotten past. Elias stood at the edge of a rocky cliff, staring down at the scattered camp below. Around him, the hidden humans, those who had survived in secret for generations, moved cautiously, their eyes filled with a mixture of hope and fear. Beside them were alien allies, outcast from their own worlds, drawn to Elias's cause by a shared desire for justice, or perhaps revenge. Elias's mind was heavy with memories, images of Earth ablaze, cities crumbled to dust, and the screams of a civilization torn apart. That nightmare had haunted him through centuries of silence, locked in stasis, and now it fueled the fire within him. He was no longer just a survivor. He was a spark that could ignite a revolution. In the dim light of the moon's surface, the camp's leaders gathered around a flickering holographic map. The glowing lines traced the routes of the alien invaders who had once shattered humanity's homeworld. Now, the same enemy spread their shadow across countless systems, ruling with cruelty and fear. But Elias knew their strength was not absolute. "This is our chance," Elias said, his voice steady but filled with passion. "We have the knowledge, the power, and the will. We will not just survive, we will rise. We will take back what was stolen. Earth's destruction will not be the end of us." Around him, faces lit with resolve. Humans who had hidden in the dark for centuries, children of a lost world, now dared to dream of justice. Aliens who had suffered under the Empire's hand nodded in agreement. Together, they formed a fragile but determined alliance. Training began at once. The hidden humans, long forgotten by history, discovered new strength within themselves. Their bodies healed faster, their senses sharpened, and strange new abilities emerged, gifts in their mysterious origins. Elias watched as they grew stronger each day, the echoes of Earth's past transforming into the promise of a powerful future. The alien allies taught their own skills, stealth tactics, advanced weaponry, and knowledge of the Empire's weaknesses. In return, humans shared the ancient technology they had recovered from the buried ship, devices that could bend energy and shield them from harm. Slowly, a new force took shape, blending the best of both worlds. But as the alliance grew, so did the shadows within. Doubts gnawed at Elias's mind. Could they truly win against an enemy so vast and ruthless? Was revenge enough to fuel a war that might destroy them all? The weight of centuries pressed down on his shoulders, a heavy reminder that he carried not just his own fate, but the hope of a scattered race. One night, beneath a sky filled with unfamiliar stars, Elias stood alone outside the camp. The wind whispered secrets through the rocks, and memories of Earth's final days flooded his thoughts. He clenched his fists, feeling the strange energy pulse through him, a reminder of the power waiting to be unleashed. Suddenly, a figure approached from the shadows. It was Mira, one of the alien allies who had become his closest confidant. Her eyes were dark pools of concern. "We have a problem," she said quietly. "I've heard rumors. Someone in our midst is feeding information to the Empire. They know our plans, our movements. We are compromised." Elias's heart sank. The sting of betrayal cut deeper than any blade. He had hoped their alliance could be strong, unbreakable. But now the enemy was closer than they had imagined, hidden among their own. "Who?" Elias demanded, voice low but fierce. Mira shook her head. "I don't know yet, but we must act fast. If the Empire learns our full strength, they will crush us before we even begin." The camp erupted into urgent activity. Scouts were sent to watch every corner. Trust became scarce, and suspicion hung heavy like a poison. Elias tried to steady his people's nerves, reminding them of their purpose, but the fear was real and growing. Days passed, and tension mounted. The Alliance prepared for first strike against the Empire's forces, a daring attack on a key supply route that would weaken their grip on several systems. It was a risky move, but necessary. The survivors had no choice but to fight. As the attack date approached, Elias's thoughts returned to the traitor. Who among them could betray the hope of a lost world? He looked at the faces around him, warriors, scholars, and friends. Trust was fragile now, and every glance held a silent question. Then, during a quiet moment before the battle, Mira returned with grim news. "They revealed themselves," she said, voice barely above a whisper. "The traitor has sent a message to the Empire. Our entire plan is exposed." Elias's blood ran cold. The Empire's response would be swift and brutal. Without hesitation, Elias gathered his leaders. "We must change our plans," he said firmly. "The Empire will come for us with full force." We need to be ready. The survivors steeled themselves, knowing the fight ahead would be the most dangerous they had ever faced. Yet in their hearts burned a fierce resolve. This was not just about revenge anymore. It was about reclaiming their destiny. As the first lights of the alien fleet appeared on the horizon, the camp stood united but wary. Among them, the shadow of betrayal lingered, a deadly secret that could shatter everything. Elias raised his voice, strong and clear, cutting through the rising tension. We are not just survivors. We are the last hope of humanity. We will fight for every lost soul, for every dream that was crushed, and we will rise. The air crackled with energy, the hidden power of a forgotten race awakening once more. The battle for revenge, for honor, and for the future was about to begin. But as the enemy drew closer and the first shots rang out across the barren landscape, Elias could not shake the feeling that the greatest danger was not from outside, but from within. The red dust of Mars whipped through the broken streets and scattered outposts, turning the battle into a swirling storm of chaos and fire. The war had spread like wildfire, reaching from the ancient buried ship to the surface colonies where settlers lived in fragile peace. Now, the quiet of the red planet was shattered by gunfire, explosions, and the fierce cries of soldiers fighting for survival. Elias stood at the edge of a rocky ridge overlooking a small settlement. Below, his forces moved like shadows among the ruins, humans and alien allies alike, using guerrilla tactics to strike and disappear before the enemy could respond. The advantage of surprise was all they had, and they used it well. The enemy was powerful. The alien empire soldiers wore armor that shimmered with deadly energy, their weapons capable of tearing through walls and crushing defenses with brutal efficiency. But Elias's people had something more, something the invaders did not expect. The survivors' unique abilities, born from ancient powers long hidden, gave them speed, strength, and resilience beyond normal limits. They were ghosts in the dust, striking fear into the hearts of their oppressors. In the shattered streets, bursts of blue energy flared as Elias's forces engaged enemy patrols. Small squads darted between ruins, laying traps and cutting supply lines. The alien invaders were forced to spread thin, guarding multiple fronts and chasing elusive targets. Yet, the enemy adapted quickly, unleashing new weapons designed for total destruction, devices that burned the land, machines that crushed all in their path, and bioweapons that turned life into ash. The battle was a constant dance between hope and despair. Inside a command tent, Elias met with his closest advisors. Maps of Mars and the nearby colonies glowed on holographic displays, marked with the latest movements of both sides. Among his trusted circle was Kayla, a fierce warrior and Elias's oldest friend. Her sharp mind and unyielding loyalty made her indispensable, and Elias felt her presence like a shield. Enemy forces are concentrating near the Valles Marineris outpost, Kayla said, pointing to a red, the moving fast on the map. They want to crush the rebels there. If they succeed, it could cut off our supply routes completely. Elias frowned. We can't let that happen. We need to strike first. Kayla nodded, her eyes hard. I'll lead a squad to disrupt their lines. But the enemy's new weapons, they're unlike anything we've faced before. We have to be careful. As plans formed, a messenger burst into the tent, breathless and wide-eyed. Commander, Kayla's unit has been ambushed near the outpost. They're surrounded. Kayla is captured. Silence fell like a hammer blow. Elias's heart tightened. Kayla, his friend, trapped behind enemy lines. The thought was unbearable. Without hesitation, Elias stood. We can't leave her to the enemy. Prepare a rescue team. I'll lead it myself. The team moved swiftly through Mars's jagged terrain. The air was thin, the ground rough and unstable, but Elias's resolve burned stronger than ever. Every step was a step toward danger, but also toward hope. The enemy camp was hidden in a deep canyon, guarded by patrols and energy barriers. Elias's team moved quietly, using the shadows and their unique powers to slip past sentries. Their mission was clear: rescue Kayla and get out before the alarm could spread. Inside the camp, Kayla sat bound, bruised but defiant. Her eyes burned with anger and determination. She refused to show weakness, knowing her friend would come. Outside, Elias's team fought silently, disabling guards one by one. But time was running out. The enemy's cruel machines began to stir, preparing for a retaliatory strike. Just as Elias reached Kayla's cell, alarms blared. The enemy had discovered their presence. "Move!" Elias shouted. He cut Kayla's bindings, and together they dashed through the camp, pursued by furious soldiers. Energy blasts flew past them, and explosions rocked the ground. The rescue team fought fiercely, protecting their leaders as they raced toward the exit. A massive enemy war machine blocked their path, a towering beast bristling with weapons, designed to crush anything in its way. Elias stepped forward, focusing his energy. Blue light crackled around his hands as he prepared to face the nightmare. The war machine charged, shaking the ground with every step. Elias leapt into action, dodging blasts and striking at the creature's joints with bursts of raw power. His teammates covered him, cutting down enemy soldiers trying to flank them. Kayla, despite her wounds, fought beside Elias, using her own strength and skill to slow the enemy's advance. Together, they were a storm of force and fury. But the war machine was relentless. It smashed a wall, sending rubble crashing down. The ground cracked beneath their feet. The rescue mission was becoming a desperate fight for survival. Just as the team prepared to make a final push, a new threat emerged. Alien reinforcements arriving in ships, pouring soldiers into the canyon. The battle tipped against them, the enemy's numbers overwhelming. Elias shouted orders, rallying his team. "Fall back. We can't hold here." The survivors retreated through narrow tunnels, the sounds of battle echoing behind them. The rescue mission had saved Kayla, but at a heavy cost. Several of their own had fallen, and the enemy's grip on Mars tightened. As they regrouped in a hidden cave, Elias looked at Kayla, her face smeared with dirt and pain. "We will make them pay," he promised. She nodded, eyes fierce. This war is far from over. Outside, the red dust settled once more, but the shadow of war stretched long across Mars and beyond. The fight for freedom was relentless, and the enemy's ruthless weapons promised even darker days ahead. But Elias and his people were ready. The battle was just beginning. The ancient ship stood silent and imposing against the barren Martian sky, its dark hull half buried in red dust and scars of forgotten battles. Inside, the survivor moved to the labyrinth of corridors, their heart pounding with a mixture of fear and determination. For centuries, this ship had held secrets that could either save humanity or doom it forever. And now, the time had come to unlock the final weapon. The survivor reached a massive door, its surface etched with symbols that glowed faintly as they approached. Their fingers traced the carvings, feeling a strange energy ripple beneath their skin. This was the heart of the ship, the place where the weapon lay hidden. The air hummed with power, a heavy silence that pressed on the mind. With a deep breath, the survivor placed their hand on the center of the door. The symbols flared brightly, and the door began to slide open with a grinding roar. Inside was a chamber unlike any other, a vast space filled with strange machinery, glowing crystals, and a massive device at the center. It looked both beautiful and terrifying, as if the fate of worlds rested on its cold metal frame. The survivor stepped closer, eyes wide. This was a weapon the ancient humans had built to protect themselves, an ultimate tool of destruction, but also a beacon of hope. The machine pulsed with life, its power waiting to be unleashed. Suddenly, the ship trembled. Outside, the distant rumble of engines echoed. Both human rebels and alien forces had sensed the weapon's awakening. The war that had raged across planets now centered on this buried ship, and whoever controlled the weapon would control the galaxy's future. Alarms blared through corridors. The survivor knew time was running out. They moved to the control panel, hands flying over buttons and levers they barely understood. The ship's systems responded, ancient voices whispering through speakers, warnings and instructions from a lost era. The weapon required a sacrifice, energy control, and was strong enough to wield it without being consumed. As the survivor worked, the ship's screens flickered to life, displaying images from long ago. Battles fought, sacrifices made, and a desperate attempt to stop an unstoppable enemy. The weapon had been humanity's last hope, locked away to prevent its power from falling into the wrong hands. Now it was awakening again. Outside the ship, human fighters and alien warships clashed violently. Explosions lit the red sky as the battle reached its peak. The survivors' allies fought fiercely to protect the ship, holding back waves of enemies who wanted the weapon for their own dark purposes. But the survivor knew the real test was inside. To activate the weapon, they had to face their deepest fears, control the immense power without losing themselves. A voice echoed inside their mind, an ancient AI that had guarded the weapon through centuries. It spoke in calm, measured tones. To wield this power is to carry the fate of many. Choose wisely. The survivor hesitated, memories flooding back. The destruction of Earth, the screams of lost loved ones, the endless years of hiding and running. This weapon could end the war. But at what cost? Could they become a savior or a destroyer? With resolve, the survivor placed their hands on the weapon's core. Energy surged through their body, a violent storm of light and heat. Pain and power intertwined as the machine responded to their will. Outside, the battle paused for a moment, as if the universe itself held its breath. But then, without warning, the sky darkened further. A shadow larger than any before appeared on the horizon. An enormous alien fleet, unknown and terrifying. Their ships moved with strange shapes and weapons unlike anything seen before. This was a new threat, one that neither humans nor the old enemy had prepared for. The survivor's grip tightened on the weapon's controls. The war had shifted, and the stakes were higher than ever. As the ancient weapon hummed louder, ready to unleash its power, the new alien fleet approached, silent and deadly. The survivor faced a choice that would change everything: fight for salvation or fall into destruction. The moment hung frozen. Then, with a blinding flash, the weapon activated. The battlefield was silent now. The once fiery clashes had faded into echoes, leaving behind scorched ground and twisted metal beneath the dull red sky of Mars. The survivors stood among the ruins of the ancient ship, their breath heavy, heart pounding with both exhaustion and a fierce new hope. Around them, allies gathered, humans and former alien rebels alike, united by the trials they had endured and the victory they had won. The new alien fleet, the mysterious force that had threatened to crush everything, was no more. Its ships lay shattered in orbit or buried beneath the dust. The ancient weapon, the source of so much fear and power, had been used, not to destroy indiscriminately, but to end the war. The survivor had wielded it with care, mastering its force and becoming a beacon for those who had believed humanity was lost. Mars, once a silent witness to humanity's near extinction, now thrummed with life. The ancient ship had been transformed into a command center, its technology revived and adapted for a new era. Scientists, soldiers, and explorers worked side by side, determined to rebuild what had been broken. The survivor moved through the settlement, their eyes meeting the faces of the people, young and old, humans and allies. There was a fire in their gaze, a strength born from suffering and victory. This was no longer a place of loss. It was a new dawn, a beginning of something greater. Standing on a rocky outcrop, overlooking the growing colony, the survivor reflected on everything that had come before. The abductions, the battles, the betrayals, the revelations. Every step had led to this moment, where humanity was no longer a shadow in the galaxy, but a rising force, ready to protect and grow. They thought humanity was extinct, a lost species erased by a merciless war. But they were wrong. Humans had endured, evolved, and awakened to powers that could change the stars themselves. The survivor raised their voice, calling to the gathered crowd. We have survived what no one thought possible. We have faced the darkness and come through stronger. This is our home now. Mars will be the heart of a new future, where humanity will never be forgotten or defeated again. Cheers rose from the crowd, a chorus of hope and determination that filled the air. The survivors' eyes shone with resolve. They would lead, protect, and guide humanity through this new era, a guardian of the stars. As the red sun dipped below the horizon, casting a golden glow across the landscape, the survivor whispered the words that echoed through their soul and beyond. They thought we were extinct. They were wrong. We're just beginning.